Welcome to the Everyday Awesome Project, where we bring you inspirational stories and game-changing strategies to live your most awesome life. Hey, superstars, welcome back. Polly here.
And Sam Pruitt. What's up, beautiful humans? Let's go!
Yo. Yeah, speaking of let's go, we're talking about some let's go hormones, right? Like hormone
Totally.
all well, and
Some go get it hormones. Some go get it.
technically, yeah, we need to like clear up some technicality because we were thinking about calling this like the happiness drugs and happiness chemicals, and it's really a little bit of fine tuning. So the two things that we're mostly going to talk about today, which is let the cat out of the bag, are our good buddy serotonin and our good buddy dopamine, right?
Totally.
Yeah, yeah.
Totally.
And
And
so
why are we talking about these quote unquote feel good hormones? Why? Because everybody is in the freaking pursuit of this,
mm, mm,
chasing it. Like,
or in hijacked in some ways by it,
yeah.
hijacked in the pursuit of it. And just know like
Mhm.
these are naturally occurring chemicals that are,
Yep.
I was sharing with you that I watched this video in preparation for this about the tie-in with a woman studying behavior in animals who have this, similar chemicals, right? Dopamine, serotonin, and how they drive them one direction, out of the herd or towards the herd or towards food or away from being chased, things like that. So guess what? We're purely animals here, right? And so we evolved,
Speak for yourself, lady.
yeah. We evolved similarly, you might say. We don't want to, however you view that evolution. But it's like those drugs are still doing what they're doing by design to keep this human form alive, if you will, right?
Well,
And
let's call them hormones. Let's not call them drugs because we don't want
yeah,
people to think of it like that.
yeah,
It's so
yeah, yeah.
they're neurotransmitters or neuromodulators,
Hmm.
which is a chemical compound within the body. We'll just put
Hmm.
them under the classification of hormones. Most
Hmm.
people know that they have an endocrine system. I
Hmm.
don't, do
Hmm.
they? I hope they do. I
Hmm.
hope you do. Okay. Anyway, your body produces hormones.
Yeah.
And all of these hormones, there's so many. That's why we're just talking about two today, because they're like the, let's get happy sort of vibe.
Hmm.
Um,
And
they
they get
do so many
confused.
things in the body.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, so they don't just make us feel good, they shape motivation, mood, they form sleep,
Hmm.
appetite. They help us in learning, like what to go for, what not to go for, stress tolerance, social behavior, pain sensitivity, emotional
Yeah.
regulation. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
these puppies are like lifting heavy over here, you know.
These are the two we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, kind of workhorses for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
And
Yeah.
people who are nerds like us who might want to know more about how their body works should, read up on this stuff
Mm.
and watch some videos on it, etc., and like start to understand the body in so many ways is so complex. I mean,
Mm.
frankly, it's just miraculous
Yeah.
that I'm even standing here today functioning.
Right.
But
Right.
and any of us humans who happen to be alive in this time are so incredibly lucky sons of bitches, right? But
Mm.
it's like also very simple
Mm.
because once you understand like core foundational health elements, these systems will work. They
Mm.
will work, right?
Mm.
But they can very easily become dysfunctional and diseased when you are not doing core foundational health principles.
Right. Exactly.
And we will get into giving them some solutions for each of these, but let's kind of pick them apart. Let's start with the go get it
Yeah. Yeah.
hormone
Dopamine.
called dopamine. First of all, why is it called dope? Whoa,
Yeah.
yo, dope. And where did the slang word dope come from? Did it come from dopamine?
Oh,
That's dope.
dang, I didn't look all this up. I didn't know these questions were going to be happening today. Oh my God, Oh my
I'm just
God.
going to speculate.
Well,
It's
I
the go
think,
get it hormone. So it's motivation,
yeah.
reward. I mean, motivation, everybody struggles with that. Reward, learning.
Mm,
So many people are struggling with learning. Learning is challenging in this
mm,
really high stimulus,
mm,
stressful world that we're all living in now. So,
mhm.
this is one of those hormones that helps with that. It's not the pursuit, it's not pleasure. So, it's not like a hormone that just gives us automatically pleasure, it's pursuit,
Yeah.
if
I
you
think
think
it's
of it
it's
that way.
misunderstood often. And I didn't, I thought it was like the reward you got for going for something. It's like, oh, a dopamine hit, people would say. And it's like actually more dopamine is hit in the pursuit of that, right? Like
Exactly.
going for
It
something.
drives the pursuit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It drives the pursuit and it balances
Mm,
pleasure and pain.
mm.
So it's not all pleasure, FYI. It's not all shits and giggles. It's balances and it helps you to regulate those things.
Yeah, and I was that like I was referencing that one gal's video about how chemicals in animals, and she was talking about how dopamine is what has a gazelle in the wild leave the pack because it could get more food if it's out on its own. But and it's like, oh, there's a reward out there, go for it. Like it gets it to go pursue something, and the reward of like getting it is like, so it survives, it gets more food, it thrives. The species could live or whatever. So yeah,
But it takes the risk of being eaten by a lion.
exactly.
And as it gains the success of the reward, we'll call it the food,
Yeah.
dopamine shuts off. It's not doing anything until the next chase, the next pursuit,
Yes.
right? So again,
Yes.
motivation to be fed, motivation to be safe, motivation to win, motivation to succeed, all of the things that we call motivation. So dopamine feeds motivation. It's really a critical hormone to motivation as a whole.
To get up and go. Yeah.
To
And
get
it,
up and go,
and I,
yo.
and what I got from her explanation was like the learning happens when that gazelle goes out, finds a patch of food or something in the wild, and it doesn't get eaten. It's like, oh, that was a good strategy, right? So it learns it's okay, or right. So these chemicals often are they create behaviors in us, right? Good, bad, or otherwise, right? So we can talk about, some of the addictive
Neural
loops.
grooves.
Yes, yes. So the learning happens when it goes, oh, that was worth the reward. That reward was worth the food, the dopamine hit, the chemicals, or whatever, rewarded that animal for striking out and, doing that, if you will. So, yeah.
So the problem with that is at the root of addiction and addictive compulsive behaviors is also dopamine.
Yeah, totally.
Dope in a bad way. Okay. So this is what also feeds that dysregulation or that vicious cycle of that compulsive or addictive behavior because you got the dopamine to go do the chase, pursuit of whatever drugs, alcohol, sex, gambling. I could go on all freaking day
Social
long
media.
about social media,
Yeah, yeah.
and then you do the thing. Dopamine's shut off at that point. You do the thing, and then there's some small reward, micro. Sometimes there isn't even a reward. Plenty of people doing drugs, alcohol, gambling, there's a negative consequence, right?
Yeah.
But that groove is so deep
Yeah.
that they continue to do that behavior with the hopes that the next one might feel good because at one time they did win the slot machine or they did have a good high or they did have great sex with a random stranger or whatever the hell the thing is they're doing.
Well,
Right.
and so slot machines and social media, they're the same algorithm, right? So it's the same, operating under the same theory is give them enough, reward to keep them coming back thinking. And dopamine actually thrives on that uncertainty, like that anticipation also, right? So it's like, oh, I might get a great video, might get a, like something I like, something funny, feel good, whatever, right? Same thing with slot machines, like, oh, you could win, so you just keep, and they reward you enough with the yummy cat video or whatever it is, or a couple of quarters out of the machine or something like that.
Or likes on your post or whatever bullshit.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So it's that anticipation, right? And it's funny. Those are very, so I want to give one that was popping in my mind as you were starting to explain this, that is like, oh fuck, that's probably it too. so, so like
We're so human, Polly. What are we
so
being so human like?
so I was like, oh dang, that's probably it too, which I like and I appreciate this. So a couple, so we can all see the, let's call it the hamster wheel of social media, or the hamster wheel of a gambling addiction, right? One I think is a little bit less. So I just started to notice like me planning vacations, or like I bought a flight the other night. It's like, oh, the vacation started. Oh,
You got, yeah.
the trip, so like that dopamine, I got the anticipation of something by taking a step, taking an action, even like researching about something, like the anticipation of going somewhere, right? I was like, oh, wow. And where else I saw it for myself is signing up for races.
Well, hell yeah. Let me tell you what I did yesterday. Okay.
Okay, I
This
saw
is
your
says
social
apparently,
media.
well, this is confessional. So we are so dopamine savages. Dopamine savage.
I
Okay,
get it.
let's just be honest. And so the
Oh dear.
pursuit,
Oh
and you and
no.
I are freaking triple type A pursuiters.
Oh shit.
Okay, we don't just like half-ass this pursuit thing.
Oh
We're the
no.
fucking lions in the jungle, people. We are like on the savannah in full.
And some people might call it healthy pursuit. Some people might call it a little insanity, but
Right? Well, it's finding the balance, which we'll get into that. But okay, yeah. What did I do yesterday? So I've been planning this John Muir Trail hike I'm doing this summer. So talk about dopamine. Anytime I sit down to work on that project, that adventure, that expedition,
oh yeah.
I am high as a kite. I am like, wow, couldn't be more fun to like look at the latest gear and the latest tent. Literally, I have a brand new tent that's not been opened yet that I'm going to be returning because a better one just came out. And how do I know? Because I was doing the
And you
research.
bought one like last year. What the hell?
This is my third tent.
Oh no.
This is my third tent in a calendar year. This is classic, but that's a classic example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I made a decision a couple weeks ago that I was not going to do my 100 miler in the fall because I just
Nice.
cannot get my volume up half.
Nice.
But a new race came out this week that I've had my eye on doing the Arizona Trail, which is actually on my bucket list to do the
Yeah.
Arizona Trail.
Yeah.
And a brand new race came out, 100 miler on the Arizona Trail. And you bet your sweet ass, I was like, going to, I did all the research. It's next spring and I
Oh
planned
no.
it. Okay. So I did do some logical thinking and some
Yeah.
grounded realization, but I was like, yes.
Well, so yeah, just let the dopamine. So yeah, okay. Here's the other thing that I'll from all my years of addiction studies
Yeah,
and
we got to
habits and
talk
stuff like
about
that. A
addiction.
little
We
bit
got
of
to
that.
talk
Okay.
about it.
So imagine there's this big thing in the world of bulimia, and you can I think picture this. There might be similarly in alcohol, but in bulimia we call it the bulimia urge, right? It's
Okay.
like an urge to eat, urge to overeat, right? Some people it's because they're starving themselves, whatever, or it's just like they're and we love Dr. Gabor Mate, maybe we'll bring him in, but it's like you're trying to shift from something else, right? So you get this urge to eat and it drives you, right, to go do stuff. And so it's like you're just like compelled, right? So the chemical is triggered, right? So it's like that dopamine or whatever. So the hypothalamus releases these chemicals. And if you can last I remember working with a therapist one time and she was like, max 90 seconds. It's like a wave coming through. Like if you can imagine like a slow wave coming through the ocean or towards your body. And like, if you don't get, if you rise above it, you can just ride that wave. You like, oh my God, another race. Oh my God, And then in 90 seconds, guess what? It pitters out, right? If we don't latch onto it and ride with it and take it wherever it takes us into the kitchen or into the like pressing and buying and like I'm going to the race, and then we get the
Yeah,
little
yeah, yeah.
so
Totally.
like
I mean, I don't act on these things right away. I haven't bought the tent and all the, I haven't like done the things, but I'm in the cycle of like, now I'm gonna review that if
jiggle
that's an
that.
intellectual move or is it an emotional move. So to me, how I do it is I ride the wave and I get excited and curious,
Yeah,
and then I let the wave
yeah,
go back,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then I start to let it sort of mull around in my brain and also in my body. Like, does that feel right? Does that feel like a good move? Does that make sense? Is that really logical? Like, I start to sort of analyze the reality of it. What would it require? How much is it going to
Yeah.
cost? Blah, blah, blah. All the things. I don't just go,
Hmm.
fuck yeah, I gotta have it. Like people on Amazon or whatever they're doing, or
Hmm.
buying products on social media, shopping on.
Yeah.
Oh, that just I must need that. I must, you know what I mean? So that's the gambler sort of
Yeah.
mindset.
Yeah.
And we're not saying that, doing fun shit is not a good idea. We're all about it, right? But understanding why your brain responds the way it responds and
And
how it's
body.
actually a physiological
Yes.
response also,
Yeah.
especially something so primal like you talked about, food addiction. Like, food is such a primal need,
Yeah.
right? So that is a whole other slew of things going on besides dopamine, obviously.
Totally.
But if you think about, and same with sex, I'm sure, and there's other things that are just like so primal in
Hmm.
nature
Hmm.
that riding those waves can be more complex than just,
Hmm.
am I going to buy the latest and greatest tennis shoe that just came out or the newest tent or whatever the hell the thing is. I don't
And
need those to survive.
yeah, and what I want to just throw in here and we'll talk about later is the antithesis of this. And so these are like pleasure stimulant, right? Like we're in the pursuit of a pleasure to avoid some sort of pain.
Yes.
Not to say you were in pain before you saw that idea of the race. You were just like pleasure, woohoo, And so like for me with the addiction, with the eating disorder, it was like some sort of stress or not feeling good about something, or there was something going on in my body to avoid that pain. It was like, oh, quick pleasure, like fast food. It was like, boom, just so those pleasure moments, whatever they are, if it's gambling, social media, whatever, it's triggering the pleasure hormone, or triggering the pleasure reward, not nourishment, which we'll talk about later. So that's what's happening when you get sort of hijacked by those chemicals, if you will. So they're getting us.
Dude, we
Yeah.
got to regulate this stuff. Let's get into a little bit how people can regulate it. Well, I'm not just saying this because this is my thing, but exercise.
Wait,
Exercise is a real thing.
you know what? Before
What?
we do, wait, I do want to say one more thing. So, there's a little pin I need to put in here. I almost
Okay.
forgot about it. And so, because I was working with a guy one time who had like porn addiction, and when I learned a lot about that and how that just degrades your sexual appetite, right? Because you've so overstimulated with something that's so unreal, right? And the same with social media or whatever. So know that like if you overstimulate yourself, you get these big dopamine spikes, especially in social media. It actually just creates this lower lull in your life that like nothing feels very good. So like for this one gentleman I was treating, it was like the the porn, watching a lot of porn, it was stimulating at the time, and then he'd try and have sex with his wife, and it was just like dull, right? And just like this dullness. So it's like you have to abstain from those reward systems to get your brain back down to a normal. And it could feel a little like dull and lifeless for a while. So we're going to talk about some things to do that, but just know if you've overstimulated by like too much X, whatever, me with the food and stuff like that, like just like normal living, if you will, going back to a norm, could feel just dull, it's like novelty, or it's not like lack of novelty and stuff. Just one.
Well, it's not a running joke. It's definitely a reality, and probably also a running joke in the ultra running world that lots of people who found ultra running are ex addicts.
Mm,
It's pretty commonplace, actually.
yeah.
And addicts of all different, shape sizes and types and stuff like that, because they were getting such a high, or they were getting such a dopamine and then a high and then a crash, right? And so when they made different lifestyle choices for themselves to move away from addiction, and were looking for things to satiate
Yeah.
these needs or these desires or this feeling of euphoria, et cetera, et cetera, it got replaced in many instances by not just running and exercise. A lot of us do that, but like the extreme
Yeah.
cases of running and exercise,
Yeah,
where they're doing really wild things.
for sure.
I'm kind of
For
about those wild things, so I'm not, hey,
sure. You're kind of
but
borderline. So what I would just say is like dopamine regulation is what we're talking about. It's not maximization, because that
no.
maximization
And
creates
more is
this.
not better. More is not
Exactly.
better.
Exactly.
Actually, more is a problematic.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm.
For sure. So, all right, let's talk about how do we regulate all this stuff. So, how do we
I mean, we
natural
just talked
dopamine
about
support?
exercise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Exercise also produces not just dopamine, which we're talking about, but serotonin, which we'll talk about next, neoepinephrine, and BDNF, which is a growth hormone. So it does a lot of shit. Okay, exercise
Mm.
is literally, I cannot say it enough.
I know.
It's impossible for me to deliver
And it's not
a
just
loud
because
enough
you,
message
yeah, yeah, like
to the
people.
benefits of
Yeah,
exercise. And it doesn't need to be anything extreme. Okay. It is
totally.
small, regular, consistent doses of moving your body,
Yeah.
ideally out in nature, but whatever. I'll take whatever you're willing to do, people. Okay. Because exercise does naturally provide this and
Yes.
these feelings. I was just out trail running this morning, and dude, I was so in flow. Yes, it's hot as hell here, so I probably had a little bit of minor heat exhaustion. No, it's hot. But I'm out in nature, I'm on a trail, I'm moving my body through space. Literally, it's effortless. I'm just like floating above the trail,
Mm,
effortlessly moving my body
mm,
because I love it so much, but I have trained my dopamine system and all these other cascade of hormones I talked about to get into that groove relatively quickly and
yeah.
to respond quickly and to take me along into the flow. Not every
Nice.
workout's like that. Some are
Yeah.
horrible and miserable. And I was in the gym yesterday and there was no flow going on at all. I was like, get in, do some heavy shit and get the hell out. Okay. But today, there it was. It was like that cascade
Nice.
immediately kicked in and I was like in it.
Mm,
I could have just kept going, but I was
mm.
like, I gotta get back. I gotta eat. I gotta, But like it's one of those things where you don't want to come home, and
Mhm,
that is possible and available for anybody.
mhm.
It really
Exactly.
is. No, it
Exactly.
doesn't matter what level of fitness you have.
Yeah, I mean, I love what you're saying about the outdoor because there's several things, but you could do yoga in your chair or in your home or stretching or walking, I mean, like 30 minutes
Oh,
of walking, 45 minutes of walking a day is just remarkable.
yeah,
So many things. So, yeah,
yeah.
exercise just like number one big plus in lots of ways. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anti-inflammatory diet. So you should monitor the inflammation in your body because that will actually block
Mm,
dopamine. So I thought that was kind of an interesting learning for me. I do understand inflammation and how it works in the body and why it's not good. But I was like, oh, it also disrupts the natural biochemicals and hormones in my body who are trying to do their job.
yeah.
And instead, I am, dropping a bunch of inflammation in by poor nutrition or poor lifestyle choices. So that was an interesting one.
Yeah. Well, I've been the gut guru for 4 years now. I'm just like gut, like everything points to the gut, nervous system regulation, like well-being, the genesis of disease, that it's gut, get you, and then natural light and sleep and all those yummy things. I mean,
That's
like
the next one.
there's just,
Morning light specifically because
mm,
of your cortisol timing and your natural response of cortisol rather than driving it all day and all night long. Like letting the body get into that morning light.
mm.
Oh, it's time for me to have my cortisol spike and kick in.
So I'll just say more specifically because I loved that episode. There's a fantastic, like 2 hour plus episode that Andrew Huberman Lab has done on the power of morning light. So if you haven't seen it, listen to it. We just give kudos to that. It's all about it. And so what he recommends is watch the sunset and watch the sunrise. That's like the simplest way to say it is like watch a sunrise and watch a sunset every day. That's his little take on it. But yeah, so when you say morning light, it's like not just like sitting in your house and going, "Oh, it's light outside." It's like get it in the eyeballs because he's an eye doctor. It's like there's something about it. He's got all the science behind it. It's freaking amazing.
Well, the
So,
something about it is the communication
mm,
to your brain and your vagus nerve, which
mm,
talks to your gut, and it's all, hey, yo, what are we doing now? What are we doing now? Right?
and circadian
Again,
rhythms
this
and
is the
all
go
of that.
get it hormone. So,
Yeah.
like, if you think about that being one more way to activate the go get it hormone,
Mm-hmm.
social connection, this is just a beautiful one that we're all about,
Mm,
obviously,
mm,
but not just like not feeling isolated and
yeah.
lonely, but like going, because that's obvious, right? There are really poor health outcomes, physical health outcomes, and mental health outcomes with feeling lonely and isolated.
Yeah.
So if that is the case, then you need to get busy asking for help and finding community and getting support.
Yeah.
But like what am so into, which you totally know, which is like these random acts of constant out in the world, micro moments, we'll call them micro moments with other humans, mostly strangers, not always, but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the time, totally
Mm-hmm.
with strangers.
Mm-hmm.
And I freaking love that.
Yeah.
It can be a little thing at the gym for a couple minutes or the coffee shop or whatever. And it's those small moments of connection with
Mm,
people, your barista or whatever your daily routine looks like.
mm,
Um, that gives you that. It
mm,
actually triggers dopamine.
I was thinking
Isn't that a
serotonin.
trip?
Well, serotonin too, because serotonin is what draws you to be with other
Serotonin and
people.
oxytocin.
Yeah. Yeah.
And oxytocin. So there's three chemicals in that thing,
Yeah.
but that little
Interaction.
motivation
Yeah.
spike,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I thought, well, that's super interesting. I'm basically a crack addict then.
Yeah.
Dopamine crack
I
addict.
was gonna say you're
I
like,
gotta,
oh, I gotta have my coffee. Gotta get
I gotta,
out.
I gotta go see the people. The people are out there. I gotta go see it.
You get a
You know,
twofer. You
why
get
do you
the
think I took that damn job at REI? I wouldn't
I
be
know.
working at REI part time. Where's the people? I gotta go talk to the people. And they're talking about adventures and cool shit. Like, hello, dear.
You're like,
Hello. You all need me.
the addict is here. Just letting you know, you guys are feeding my dopamine addiction, my need for the outdoors. I love you all. Love you all.
Dude, totally. And they find me in the store. I mean, like
Totally.
they gravitate towards me because they can probably smell the dopamine. It probably is like a pheromone. It gives
Are you?
off an odor.
You're like, are you up for an adventure? Oh my God, come here. Like, tell me about it. You get the serotonin from talking to them, and then the dopamine from all of
It
it.
is. It totally feels so yummy. It is a yumminess
It's a reward,
to that.
dude. It's a
Yeah.
reward.
And again, anybody can do this.
Yeah, yeah, and
Anybody can do this,
and
right?
I think, we talked earlier about that wave that can lead to the addiction, right? And you're riding this wave of like, oh my God, I've got to sign up for that bigger thing, or I've got to, click the thing, or the slot addiction, or the food addiction, or whatever, right?
Hmm.
And there's healthy ways that it does reinforce behaviors that are natural and normal. Like you're talking about, it's like, oh my God, being with people, right? Which is like
Hmm.
more of that. So it's serving. It's just when it gets either in the dopamine loop and you're in addiction, or you're like over emphasizing something that's becoming unhealthy, right?
Yeah, and you mentioned Dr. Gabor Mate a few minutes ago. Freaking legend. If people don't know who he is, please start watching his videos and reading his books. He's not going to be with us forever. He's in his 80s now, but he's absolutely brilliant in the
Mm,
area of addiction and trauma
mm,
and all of these things that we
mm,
talk about on the show.
mm.
I mean, I'm totally obsessed with this man.
So,
But he says, examine the pain, right?
mm,
If you are being driven to seek that pleasure in some way, shape, or form, you need to understand, like you were saying earlier, about, well, there's something pushing you towards that seeking, that
mhm,
pursuit,
mhm.
and be honest about, I'm pursuing that thing because of what? What is the pain? So rather than focusing on the addictive behavior
Yeah.
and the cycle of it, be willing to look at the root of that. What is motivating me and
Mhm.
driving me to keep doing this thing that I know is not good for me? What, fill in the blank?
Yeah, I'll just give his quote. He's on another podcast and he said something like, his line is like, the question is not why the addiction, but why the pain that's causing the addiction. Like, what is the pain that you're avoiding? What is the thing that's driving you to seek this pleasure, short term, whatever it is, right? So, and examine that. Like, there's your, that's the unexamined life is, you're deluding yourself, right? So, if you're finding yourself compulsively after something, and I find that I remember, so I remember coaching this one gal with her food addiction. This was years ago, and she would tell me like she had this 2 o'clock thing where she went down
Routine.
to,
A
yeah, like
routine.
this routine. So she worked in like some office building with a lot of, I
Mm.
think, office building with lots of cubicles and on a computer and whatever. And she had this routine. I think it was like 2 o'clock, get up, and I forget, there was a snack room in the floor. She'd go downstairs or whatever. So she'd go like, binge all these foods and stuff. And what we started when we unpacked it is she was isolated and lonely. She wasn't so hungry. She was isolated and lonely. So I was like, well, why don't you get up and go talk to somebody in a neighboring cubicle? Like instead of like going down whatever to the snack room. Totally transformed. She was lonely and isolated, right? And so looking at the source of that addiction for her was isolation, loneliness, not connecting, if you will. And so just, if you've got a behavior, a pattern, a routine that you're in that, isn't serving you, look at what's the pain that you're maybe avoiding. And it may not feel like a pain, like, like a thorn in your side. It could be just sort of a numbing, or like a dull, or, like it pushes you away, or just sort of like a sinking feeling. So whatever that pain is, yeah, just looking at that, pointing to it.
Well, a lot of people would just say, oh, it's because I'm anxious or I'm depressed or I'm this. They're just, it might be like, it's like saying there's one color of white paint, you know, and behind the white paint is,
Totally.
we're just going to paint it all white. What color white? We got to go a few more layers into that.
Yeah.
And that can be uncomfortable. And sometimes you need to do that with somebody,
Yeah.
okay, in a non-judgmental way, whether it be a friend or a family member or a coach or whatever. A lot of times the friends and family members can be part of the problem. So have awareness there, right? But find some support around that to unpack that if you're not able to get to the root.
Yeah, and the sooner you can recognize it, I want to just, this is a confessional today, so here we go again. So
There we go.
I was telling you that like last month, so I have this little stash of chocolate in my kitchen, and I have maybe a little square or two after lunch or at dinner or something like that. And then I noticed like I wasn't even like feeling like it, but it was like, up, lunch is over, up, have the chocolate, up, lunch is over, up, have the chocolate. And I'm too much in this world and work to not notice a pattern of my own. I was like, oh, hold up, wait a minute. I'm a hamster right now. This is not okay. And so I quickly aborted that pattern. I was like, nope, no chocolate visits for 2 weeks. No, none, totally cleared it up. Yesterday I found myself walking it. It was like day 3 of chocolate again. I was like, oh, hell no. Right? So just noticing it, like, all right, there's a pattern developing here, and taking a look at it, and the sooner you can examine it and sooner you can address it, right? It doesn't have to become some big glaring, oh, I've gained 40 pounds. Where did this come from? Oh, geez, whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, and we're not making bad on the behavior, even though many of these behaviors are very damaging, right? In so many ways, shapes or forms. That's not what this conversation is about. It's about like, do you have awareness of how your body works and how these motivations or lack of motivations to either pleasure seeking or pain avoiding motivations are even happening in your physical body?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's get into the next one before we run out of time. Serotonin.
Serotonin.
I know that was just dopamine.
Sorry.
Holy
Yeah.
hell.
Yeah. Well,
Yo.
two
Okay.
biggest drivers, pain and pleasure, period. Yeah. Okay.
Serotonin is specifically mood.
This is one of my
dang. Some people be
favorites.
moody, dude.
Yeah.
Some people be moody.
I love serotonin.
Satiety, so hunger regulation, and then social and sleep rhythms. This is some real animal behavior right there, huh?
Well, serotonin is like the bonding drug. Like it's what drives you to want to seek and feel bonded with people, right? Remember I was talking about that gazelle story? So she would say that scientist said the dopamine is what sends the gazelles are all in a little herd. Dopamine says, oh, you know what? Guess we're all on limited food. Sends that one gazelle out to risk its life to go get food to keep the species, whatever. And serotonin says, oh, that didn't work. Get back over here. So serotonin is like, we
stay with your people.
We do, what is it? We thrive better in a herd or something like that. We survive better in a herd. So yeah, it's definitely, and it's social status. I don't know enough about that, but there's some element to it that's about like, not one-upness or something, but I have a feeling some of this influencer, social media stuff, the likes on whatever, social, serotonin's got something in it. My favorite, how I learned about serotonin, probably this is 20 years ago, was when, especially with the addiction recovery that I, was going through and things like that, is, and we're specifically talking about natural serotonins, was having a conversation with a friend. Like go for a hike and have a conversation with a friend, and like serotonin gets produced just by people hiking and talking to each other. It's amazing, that social connection. So sorry, keep going. But
no, you're good. I mean, I talk about emotional fitness, but it's emotional flexibility. When we think about mood, that's your emotional flexibility. What's your stress tolerance? How do you handle when things get intense or hard or sad or happy or whatever? Like, do you have the ability to be flexible and ride those waves, or does it just completely take you out of the game? Yeah. You get one phone call or one text. I was at work the other day in an environment with a bunch of teammates. There's a lot of stuff going on in this space. So it's, there's some stuff, but this person got a personal text at work. That's very disruptive, but anyway, don't get me started. And it derailed their attention span and their emotional regulation for the rest of the day. They became basically unable to actually work because they had a text from one of their partner and whatever, and they went into this spiral like that.
Wow.
right? So this serotonin, it helps regulate those things, right? So we don't become so off balance so easily, so triggered. The
Mm,
trigger word,
mm,
really. This
mm,
is serotonin's helping you not get triggered by every little
mm-hmm,
thing that comes into your space, you know?
mm-hmm. For sure, for sure. Yeah.
Hmm. We did talk about appetite and digestion.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big deal.
Well, yeah, and one of the things we talked about before we aired is about how 90 to 95% of serotonin is actually produced in the gut. So
Yeah, that's wild.
part of your digestion. So if you have dysbiosis and dysregulation in your gut, guess what? But it doesn't, and then it's like, oh, does it get into the blood and then go up to the brain? But it's managed totally differently. So it's not like, was it Gabor Mate who was saying, oh, he was tying taking SSRIs, which is like a serotonin, and like helps you.
Uptake
Yeah, if you're low on
inhibitors.
serotonin or something like that, it helps you. And he's like, there's zero evidence that taking serotonin will cure depression and stuff like that. So it's not just like, oh, get more serotonin in the body and that cures things. It's like, no, there's more going on. But I think serotonin is I loved that gal's thing is like it's meant to bond. It's like the bonding hormone. It's what keeps us together, keeps community. It's I think what drives us when we feel lonely and isolated to seek out people like you going to the coffee shops and micro moments and stuff like that. I almost think that partly dopamine, but I think also serotonin is on the back end of that.
Well, if dopamine is the get up and go,
Yeah.
get up and
Get,
go,
get, get in your
yeah.
car and get in that heat.
Then serotonin is the everything's okay.
Yes.
Everything's going to be okay.
Totally.
Chill the F out, people. Settle
Yes.
it down.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep
Yeah.
it real. It's a
No.
keep it real hormone. I just made that shit up. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll take it.
How do you get it? Healthy gut. Again, healthy gut always. And why is the gut so important? Let's just continue
Mm.
beating this drum here.
Well, it's got your favorite nerve in it, so tell them about that,
Yeah,
right?
the vagus nerve is the communicating. I call it the mothership, right? But like she is communicating
Yeah.
to the entire body and every single system within the body as to what to do next.
Mm.
I mean, if it stopped working, life is over.
Mm.
So just to be clear, she's pretty damn important.
And your
But
vagus nerve
also,
is this.
I've talked a lot about like having digestive issues and celiacs, autoimmune, and yada yada. So a lot of my stuff, when I do have health challenges, are related to that gut. I had SIBO last year, right? So and gut permeability, et cetera, et cetera. So these junctions do break down, or they can break down. Environmental toxins. There's lots of reasons. Menopause, la la la. So when that happens, those hormones actually are not getting into the right places either. They can become dysregulated because of your gut dysfunction.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're finding like life actually feels pretty good and I feel like I've got it going on in these other areas, you might look at your gut
Mm-hmm.
if you're still having some challenges with these, because it's highly probable there's something going on in your gut microbiome or the leakiness of your gut or the quality of your nutrition and your digestion and your pooping and all these things that are not functioning.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I couldn't have said it
Look at your
better.
poop,
Yeah.
people.
Actually, I have a test coming to do it. So yeah,
Oh,
okay.
look at you testing your poop. How fun is that?
It's just like that. I know. She was like, "Do you want a colonoscopy or a poop kit in the mail?" I was like, "Let's go for the poop kit in the mail."
Sounds like a good time. Sign me up. Okay.
No dopamine triggered. None.
Nope.
No,
None.
I got zero over here.
Light exposure again, circadian rhythms in particular are tied to serotonin production and regulation.
Well, and I think light therapy, you want to say like seasonal lack of light, like serotonin needs, it reminds me when I had chickens. So I had chickens for quite a few years. I love them so much. Backyard chickens is great. I highly recommend it. One of the things that I learned is chickens produce eggs when there's more daylight, right? So like they need sunlight to make an egg, and I'm like, people need sunlight to make serotonin. It's kind of like that's what your body, that helps. So if you're in dark climates and stuff, it's no wonder, you have like small amount of hours per the day, get out in it, so you can get that.
And if you're not getting deep
Yeah.
sleep because your circadian rhythm is off because of all of these reasons or other reasons, like you
Yes.
decide to stay up and be on the internet or whatever bullshit you think you're doing at night, like
Mhm.
you are just setting yourself up for hormone chaos,
Yeah.
people, hormone chaos by
Yeah.
not sleeping.
Hmm.
And I feel really bad for people that have night jobs and all those things. I get it. Some people don't have a choice, but man, that's a bummer.
So tough. How
Hmm.
the body regulates during that. Yeah, well, that's a whole nother
A
episode.
lot of compensating going on.
Oof.
People and relationships, we did talk about that in human connection, but let's double click on pets and animals, which is your wheelhouse.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I just mentioned, I have a little bird thing going on right now with these three nests. All these doves are hatching around my house,
Well,
and I'm having a good time watching them. But I don't have animals because I have
yeah.
allergies to animals. But
Tell the
you and your
story.
cats, dude.
I think your story of yesterday watching your bird was like, and what you chose for your nightly beverage. I think that story is a perfect arc for like the journey of, share that story, would you?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I have quite a bit of challenging things going on in the external world right now, which has sort of been the MO for the last year and a half. But anyway, so coming from a stressful work environment on a project I'm on where there's a lot of chaos, and then home, we've got some changes in the home environment. So I wanted to come home and just chill the hell out, right? Like get to my home space and just dial down the energy. But because there's a lot going on in the home space, I was like, I feel like I need to have a cocktail and sit on the patio. It was one of those like, this is the groove of that dopamine, right? Let's just have a cocktail on the patio. Instead, I chose to get myself a non-alcoholic dragon fruit drink, which was lovely, and then sit on the patio and watch the birds
Hmm.
because I have these little birds and nests around my
Babies.
different patios, three nests currently, and they're all right now in hatch mode,
Mm.
in sitting mode, in hatch mode, and then there's one's been born already.
Mm.
And it's just so fun and
Mm.
calming to the nervous system
Yeah.
and just so lovely and pleasurable. I mean, I was making all kinds of yummy
Hmm.
hormones just sitting
Hmm.
there sipping on this little dragon fruit non-alcoholic mocktail thingy doodah and
Hmm.
watching the birds.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
It was definitely a zen moment.
Well, I think that one of the things they talk about is nature and awe help us, right? And I think nature can produce awe. I'm not sure computers can produce awe, some can, but whatever. But like being in nature and the awe, because what you were looking at is a little baby bird, like beep, 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 like that kind of moment, right? And that's just like, awe, right? So that sends a signal, like we bond with that, right? Like that baby's experience, life, whatever the story you're telling yourself about that moment, gets your system out of the dysregulation that you just, the story that was going on in your head was like, oh my God, I just, whatever, and like, I look at it almost always as energetic, especially my addiction. I can totally look back on my addiction. So what would typically mine would happen is I'd have a shitty day at work, just my energy would just be frazzled. It was kind of like a scratchy record that just was playing bad music, and it was like, right, and I'd be like, gotta go to the grocery store and get food, and then I would just like numb out, right? And so what you're doing is, getting your regulating your nervous system, your body in a different way, just by like, oh, I'll be at rest and I'll pay attention to that, create some awe in nature, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's a healthy way. That's one of the things we're, pointing to with pets is like, pet, and so one is the
Walk
touch.
your dog,
Yep.
pet your cat, people.
Nature, all, yeah, petting the cat, very good for the nervous system, hearing their purring and the touching and stuff like that. It's just like oxytocin bonding. It's a whole cocktail. It's its own,
I
great.
took someone the other day who's really stressed and is having a hard time with some negative behavioral patterns on a dog walk. It wasn't
Mm.
my dog, it was their dog, but I was like, wow, this dog is pretty like ramped up. You might need to walk this dog. Okay. Why don't we go for a walk? So we took the dog and we went walking.
Mm.
And of course, the dog was all, crazy behavior at first because it had not also had its nervous system regulated. So I had to
Right.
point that out like, hey, you're not that different from the dog, nothing personal. Right. But like sinking. And once the dog calmed down and got happy and all that stuff, that feedback loop between the human and the dog
Yeah.
is so powerful and so beautiful. And all of a sudden, the crazy mind, the rumination and stuff that was going on in this person's head was turned off, and they were oriented towards the dog
Hmm.
and what the dog needed and the dog's behavior and that unconditional love coming back from an animal to a human. And like, dude, that shit's free.
Yeah.
Okay. You just need to
Yeah.
adopt a pet.
Yeah.
And
Or
addictions are very expensive. And
so,
behaviors, shopping behaviors, all these things are very, very expensive, right?
yeah.
But for free, you can do these other things. And I know people think maybe we're being crazy, but we're not. This is real shit. Like, this
Mm.
is how it works,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
there's a reason they call them emotional support animals.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
or maybe that's not, I think that's what they call them, emotional support animals, but it's like, it's a real thing, and there's, people would say, well, there's no evidence and this and that scientifically, but, well, sorry, you just need to see how people are around their animals and you're just not paying attention. You would say,
Well, now there's plenty of evidence because the brain has been studied. It's just the coolest shit is going on right now with
"Hmm,
science and the brain,
good.
and especially around things like negative behavior loops or addictions
Mm,
and things like that, because it's rampant,
yeah.
running rampant. And also, we just have a physical and mental health crisis
Oh, for sure.
globally, not
The
just in the United States
costs.
post-pandemic, right? So there's all this new research coming out trying to unravel the shit can of mess that we created with that. But
Mm.
don't get me started on that. Okay, and then nature. Last one is nature, and a lot of that is because of the sensory regulation.
Yeah.
So you're going out into nature, and like I was this morning talking about the trail run, like I was like rocks and trees, and I felt the breeze on my
Yes.
body.
Yeah. It's
You know,
probably
it was
some.
hot as hell, and I felt this really subtle breeze, and I was like, ah. And
Mm,
sometimes I will literally just go outside and stand to like and close my eyes to like feel the breeze, to
mm,
breathe the air, to understand
mm,
that I'm part of it all. Right. So
mm,
that's a very like recalibrating is what I call it, or grounding. Some people call it grounding,
mhm,
energetic thing to do.
mm,
Leave the cubicle,
mm.
go to the outside,
Yeah.
find a piece of grass, find a piece of nature, whatever you can do here, people. And if you can't be in a park or something like that, you can close your eyes and you can visualize that
Mhm,
and breathe in the fresh air and feel the sun on your skin and still have that experience.
mm.
Your body will respond to that. It's remarkable. There's
Yes.
all kinds of science on this.
Yeah. 100%.
Hmm.
100%. Yeah. The only thing I would just say is, one of my favorite things. So we talked about the vagus nerve, and one of my favorite things that I ever learned about the vagus nerve is one of the fastest ways to switch from the fight or flight into rest and digest is like a deep breath, like a sigh, like and I think about when people, like when I put on my shoes and I go out for a walk, like I think I naturally sigh when I get on, like I take the first step off my porch. I'm like, I'm going for a walk, and it's all of those things are putting us into that parasympathetic rest and digest mode versus whatever we were working on and, whatever's going on in our life. So it's a way to rebalance. There's times when you have to warrior up and, you got to get after it. And life is very warrioring these days. And you need that wizard shift into the rest and digest where it's like, you know what? Everything's going to be okay, right?
Hmm.
Everything's going to be okay. So, yeah, I think, you know, one of the things that I've seen too, I forget how they describe it, but vantages and vistas, like when you have a view,
Hmm.
there's something in the way that the brain takes in a view. It's like a soft fascination. It's very chillaxing. I mean, it just calms the body down, right? So
Well, this is so
you
interesting
probably
you said
know
that
the
because
like Miss Wikipedia over here. Yeah.
well, just using a like human example of this, I recently was at REI talking to a guy who just had gotten off the Appalachian Trail, and I'm getting ready to do the John Muir Trail. So of course we were like obsessed talking about all the things, right? Yeah, we just find each other. Meh. And I was like, wow, that's freaking awesome. And we have all these people from the PCT coming into the store right now because the PCT runs right through where I
Ah.
live. So I said, how was it? And he said, actually, I'm really depressed.
Hmm.
And I was like,
Hmm.
what do you mean? Like, he just finished this epic 5-month journey, and he's like,
Hmm.
I've never been so depressed. I will never do anything like that again. I was like, what? And of course, I'm coach. I'm like, okay, we got to download this
Get up
shit.
in there. We gotta get up in
Yeah, we got
there.
to sort this out. Like, what's going on? So
Wow.
anyway, we had a long conversation, and of course, at the end, he's ready to do the PCT now. But in the middle of all that conversation was, and what I shared with him. So he felt what was very depressing is it was cold and wet. Of course, that is the Appalachian Trail. It's cold and wet.
And he did
Nope.
it. What months? Hello. Like, what are you doing it the last five
But
months?
it's always pretty,
Yeah,
yeah, dark.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
dark and rooted and whatever. But the darkness and the tree canopy, and there's
Totally.
hardly any views. You
Yeah,
hike for days to get to one view if the weather's good.
yeah.
And I
It's
was like, no,
crazy.
bro, no, no. That's why I'm doing the John Muir. The whole thing literally is like every time you
Oh,
walk around a corner, you literally are like 10 more lakes, an epic thing. Like the views
totally.
are off the hook. I don't know if I'll be able to come back. I might literally just drop into the abyss out there. And it's also, and that's why I'm drawn to do that trail.
Yeah.
And then also, it's one of the reasons where I live, right? I'm surrounded by desert mountains that are very extreme and magnificent, and the sky in the
Gorgeous.
desert is remarkable, and like
Yeah.
the views. And I always have a view from
Yeah.
anywhere that I'm at, driving my car, in my house, out the window, on the trail, whatever. Like everywhere I go, I'm surrounded by views.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there is no doubt, like it literally, the amount of nervous
Uh-huh.
system regulation I am gifted by the fact that I
Mm,
have views or that people can go to
mm,
the ocean or whatever they want to do.
mm.
Um, that is, again, free.
Yeah.
Absolutely gold in your pocket, free
If you
nuggets.
pay attention too,
Well, you do have to look up.
well, allow it to, resound and rejoice and like be taken the awe. I remember growing up in
Mhm.
the South, and the first time I saw a hill was when I was like 14 years old. Like I'd never seen a hill. It was like, you're just always down here at street level and stuff like that. So your mountains and the beautiful Coachella Valley desert then they're everywhere. And you're just like, oh, oh my God, that's amazing. Oh my God, where is that? I want to go hike that. It's just nonstop around where you live. So yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And you could take it in with a park or trees or, whatever, but views are where it's at, dude, where it's at.
If you want to get high, get high.
Just saying.
Just, I
Bumper
mean,
sticker.
hello, get up a mountain.
Damn bumper sticker for
I don't
sure.
care how big the mountain or the hill is, get up it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
All right, we
Totally.
better wrap this party up.
So so is there anything we want to say for about perimenopause or menopause, or did you say, I know you talked about like the gut and stuff like that.
You
So
mean how much it sucks? What'd you say? Sorry.
we're just talking menobelly with somebody
No,
the other
darling, that's
day.
another
Yeah.
show altogether. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's just different hormones that are,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Mm.
it's all part of we're a biochemical mix of just,
It's going to be
I mean,
shifting. Yeah, like,
yeah,
if you
it's
have dips.
crazy.
And so I'm going in because you're getting testosterone, and I'm going to go check out the testosterone world to see, because I'm like, I got these physical symptoms, but yeah, big guns, big guns. So, all right, what's your one takeaway? What do you want people to
For
leave with today?
me to land the plane, it's like happiness is not a drug to be pursuing.
Mm,
It's not a drug to be taking or pursuing,
mm,
right? Like feeling joy in your life
mm,
requires action,
mm.
okay? And the right choices that drive the actions. So
Per-
through right choices that drive the actions, you will
mm,
find joy, and it's foundational stuff.
mm. I like
That is it. Call me if you need the details. That is
that.
the cliff notes,
Joy is
okay?
a verb, not a noun. It's an action verb, right?
Yeah.
I would say we didn't go into it too much. I thought earlier we might, but touching upon what you're saying, I guess the bridge I'll make is like, pursuing the things, the addictive things that are triggering these, innate chemicals, right, is pleasure like junk food, right? Like it's not nourishing you. So seek true nourishment, and then you will have, I think, well-being, right? So like nervous system regulation, well-being, being at a state of peace comes from real nourishment of, a body in motion, well rested, well fed, in community, things like that, whatever that looks like. So seek that long-term nourishment, not the short-term fast food hits and kicks that you get off of these short-lived hamster wheel experiences. So that's my takeaway. So all right,
I
well,
love
let's
it.
wrap this up. What do you want to say before we
I love it. I like it. How your life feels, people, is more important than how it looks.
Yes, and every day is your opportunity to find your awesome.